Koppell. I also served this area as the Assemblyman for 23 years and as Attorney General of the State of New York for 1 year in 1994. And I'm currently in the City Council, having served for over 8 years. I'm very pleased today to endorse Gustavo Rivera for the State Senate. This is a very, very important election. In many ways, the most important election that will be held, certainly for the legislature in New York State, maybe even the most important election overall, because it is very important for us to show change in Albany. And the number one change that we have to achieve is to replace the current Senator Pedro Espada as the senator from this district. And we have here Gustavo Rivera, who is the man to make that change. And I hope that everyone in this district will join me in supporting Gustavo Rivera in the primary coming up in September. We're making this announcement here at the Amalgamated Houses because the Amalgamated Houses is an important part of my district and of the Senate district that Gustavo Rivera will represent. The fact is that over 1/3 of the Senate districts in my council district. It's very important to me to have a state senator with whom I can work and who I have confidence in. We understand that Gustavo Rivera has the kind of record and experience that will in fact represent this district well. He has already worked for the state Senate for a number of years and knows the issues. He has also worked for Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and in that way been acquainted with both national and state issues that he'll have to contend with as a state senator. Most important, Gustavo Rivera has an absolutely outstanding record of integrity. There is no besmirching his record. There is no question about his ability to serve these constituents without fear or favor, no connection with special interests. And he has committed himself to being a staunch Democrat in the state Senate. And that's a very important factor because we have been I personally have been enormously disappointed by the fact that though the Democrats gained the majority, they don't really control the state Senate. And so many of those reforms on behalf of tenants, on behalf of consumers, on behalf of the city of New York have not been realized, notwithstanding the Democrats taking over control in the state Senate. Gustavo Rivera makes that more possible because he eliminates someone who betrayed the Democratic Party, who joined the Republicans, and whose vote still cannot be counted to support the Democratic agenda. But that's not the only thing that disqualifies Pedro Espada from continuing as a state senator. This is not a personal attack. It's a political attack. The fact is that Senator Espada does not live in the Bronx. He may have established a residency for purposes of running for office, but he lives in New Rochelle. This is very, very clear. The fact is that he has not complied with the campaign finance laws. In absolute defiance of those laws, in contempt of those laws, he didn't file any campaign statement. It's simply an outrage that someone who has such little regard for the law is representing us in the state Senate. Furthermore, there are very serious charges that he has abused his Senate position for personal gain in support of his health centers, which should be completely apart from his political activities, and other reports that he has used resources to kind of induce people to vote and support for him in an inappropriate way. It is urgent that we have a clean slate in Albany. We're not going to clear up things in Albany and have a functioning state legislature so long as Pedro Espada plays the kind of role he's played. He became the majority leader through what I would call an attempt at political extortion. It's just an inappropriate way to behave as a political leader. Gustavo Rivera is going to change all that. This is a man who has convinced me not only of his integrity, but of his intelligence and his commitment. He's a young man. He has a long future in the politics of New York State, and I'm delighted to be here at the beginning. And I'm confident that we're going to have a victory. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Councilmember Koppell for this endorsement. I'm very proud to receive it. Throughout his entire career, he has always been a strong fighter for the Bronx, for the community of the Bronx and the communities around New York State. He is a gentleman and a man of conviction, and I am truly appreciative of his support. He is absolutely right. What we need is somebody in the state Senate. For years, I did work in the Democratic conference in the state Senate, and we were still in the minority. And the reason why I fought so hard to get into the majority was because I believe that when it comes to the issues that impact communities like the 33rd District, like in Riverdale, like in Kingsbridge, like in Tremont, the issues that impact those communities have to be addressed in the state Senate, and for a very long time, we were not able to do it because the Democratic conference was in the minority. So I fought really hard to make sure that we would get into the majority, but as we have seen, a Democratic majority that we can't trust, and that is because of Pedro Espada, is not worthwhile. So I am standing here with the support of Oliver Koppell, having been endorsed by the WFP, having filed with 6,200 signatures from my neighbors around the city and around the district, and saying that I am committed to making sure that I represent everybody in the district, and that we go to Albany, be an ally and and somebody that he can always count on for when we need something for the district. And so, thank you again for your support, Council Member. And I hope that we can, from now until September 14th, I can talk to as many voters as necessary and as many of my neighbors as possible so that they can come and support us and we can defeat Pedro Espada in the Democratic primary on September 14th.
Oh, Council Member, I have a two-part question for you.
Yes.
You have been in Albany for a long time. You were an assemblyman, you were Attorney General, now you're in the council. What it take to clean up the mess in Albany, the corruption that's going on there? And the part B of my question is, what the difference between Mr. Rivera and Pedro Espada?
Well, what it takes, unfortunately, in Albany is a change in a number of people who, unfortunately, have disappointed us. And number one among those people is, in fact, Pedro Espada. We need to have a change. We also need to have new rules. I note that there was an ethics proposal by Governor Patterson that failed. There was a substitute ethics proposal that was not signed by the governor. We need better ethics laws. There's no question about that. But we also need change of some personnel. And as I say, the number one change we need is to get Gustavo Rivera instead of Pedro Espada. Because Pedro Espada has not stood up in a proper way for the constituency, and he's also really betrayed the Democratic Party and only obtained the majority leadership because that was a condition that he placed on his vote for a Democratic leadership.
Oh, Mr. Rivera, Pedro Espada was here a couple of weeks ago here, giving food for vote. Did you do that too? You were giving people food to sign your petition like Espada did?
What I did was for a whole month, we went to train stations, we knocked on people's doors, we walked the streets of the district and talked to the neighbors and the people in the community and said to them, this is who I am, my name is Gustavo Rivera, I'm running for state senate against Pedro Espada. And a lot of people reacted immediately. And they said, we need to get that guy out of there. There is a recognition that he needs to leave. But it's also about giving them an option. And so I introduced myself, I said about the work that I've done and the commitment that I make to them. And this is when I talk to them, the one thing that I think is the main distinction between Pedro Espada and myself is that I want to be accountable to them. And I made that commitment to them. And I also reminded them that not only do I need their support on September 14th, but more importantly, once I get elected, I want them to come by often to my office and remind me who I work for. So that's the only thing that we did, just talk to neighbors about what's important to them.
I might also